Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last to uncover a biological secret, and it's the real reason some teams just thrive while others, well, they just stumble along.
It all starts with this one simple act, but it reveals such a profound truth about leadership. This isn't some rule written down in a manual. It's just the culture. It's the physical demonstration of a core principle, that true leadership is being willing to place the needs of others way above your own.
So why does this actually work so well? Why does this single act build such powerful bonds? Well, the answer isn't in some management textbook. It's actually inside our own brains. To really get what separates great leaders from everyone else, we have to look at the chemicals that are driving our feelings and our decisions, especially at work.
Okay, let's get into the biology here. Our bodies are literally hardwired with a set of chemicals that reward us for behaviors that help us survive. Some of them help us as individuals, and some of them, well, they help us as a group. You can almost think of it as a biological contract for cooperation.
So we can pretty much group these chemicals into two categories. First up, we've got the selfish chemicals, right? So endorphins, they help us mask pain. That's the runner's high that lets us push past our physical limits. And dopamine. Dopamine is that amazing little hit we get when we cross something off our to-do list or we hit a goal. It's all about individual achievement. But then you have the social chemicals. Serotonin is that feeling of pride and status. It's what we feel when our boss or our parents tell us they're proud of us. And oxytocin? Oxytocin is the big one. It's the chemical of deep trust, of love, of friendship. It's the feeling of truly belonging.
And then there's cortisol. This is our danger chemical, our built-in alarm system. It's designed to keep us alive when we're facing a threat. It heightens our senses, gets us ready to fight or run for our lives, and that's great if you see a lion on the savannah. But in a modern office, a micromanaging boss, or the constant threat of layoffs can trigger that same cortisol. And when it's always flowing, it completely breaks down trust, and it literally makes us sick.
So, the big question is, how do great leaders manage all these chemicals to build an organization that's not just cooperative, but thriving and innovative? Well, they create what Simon Sinek calls the circle of safety.
I want you to imagine a circle. And inside that circle are all the members of your team, your whole organization. The leader's job is to make that circle so strong that everyone inside feels completely safe from all the internal threats. The politics, the backstabbing, the fear of making a mistake. Because when people feel safe inside, they stop protecting themselves from each other and they start working together to face the real dangers outside the circle, like the competition or huge market shifts.
But here's the reality check. Most organizations get this completely and utterly wrong. A staggering 80% of us are dissatisfied with our jobs. Just think about that for a second. That means most of us are working in environments just flooded with cortisol, where that circle of safety is totally broken. We spend our days protecting ourselves from our own colleagues.
Let's look at a real-world example of this. When this guy Bob Chapman acquired the Hasten Sandiacre factory, it was a place just run by fear. Bells told people when to work, when to take a break, when to eat. They even had payphones that you needed coins to use. The message was loud and clear: we do not trust you. So Chapman's first move? He just listened. He got rid of the time clocks. He got rid of the payphones. He started treating every single employee like a human being. And the result? The culture totally transformed into one of family and trust, where people actually started looking out for each other.
His philosophy was so simple but so profound. Trust isn't something you can just demand from people. It's something you have to give first. By making that first move, by showing his people that he trusted them, he created the exact conditions for them to trust him right back.
But what happens when that circle is broken? Or maybe it was never even built in the first place? Well, the consequences are severe. Because the systems we use to run our companies today, they create distance. And that distance leads to this critical failure. Abstraction completely kills empathy.
The famous Milgram experiment back in the 60s, it gave us this terrifying look into human nature. Volunteers were told to give what they thought were increasingly powerful electric shocks to a person in another room. And even as they heard what sounded like screams of agony, a scientist in a lab coat just calmly said, "The experiment requires that you continue." A shocking number of people, a huge majority, just obeyed. They kept going all the way to the highest voltage. So why?
It was because of the physical and the emotional distance from the person they thought they were hurting.
Now, this isn't just some historical experiment. This is happening in our companies every single day. When we manage people as numbers on a spreadsheet, headcount, expenses, performance metrics, we abstract them. We create distance. And that distance makes it devastatingly easy to make decisions, like mass layoffs, that have these profound, painful human consequences, without ever feeling that human cost ourselves.
And what's really fascinating is how our own brains prove this point. I mean, which of these two stories hits you harder? A statistic about a massive tragedy, or the personal story of one individual? For most of us, it's the story of the single person, Cami Yoder, that creates a much stronger feeling of empathy. And it's because our brains, they're just not wired to feel for numbers. They're wired to feel for people.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the real danger we're facing. We spend so much time and energy worrying about external threats, things like terrorism. But look at the internal threats. The stress-related illnesses, like heart disease and cancer, which are driven in large part by toxic work environments and a lack of safety, they kill over 1 million people every single year in the US alone. The danger inside our companies is literally killing us.
So this all leads to a really fundamental choice. We can keep building our organizations to chase short-term abstract numbers, which just fuels an addiction to performance. Or we can choose to build them for long-term stability and for human prosperity. And look, this isn't just about feeling good. The numbers prove it. Compare these two companies. GE under Jack Welch was the poster child for that dopamine-driven, shareholder value at all costs culture. And yeah, they got about a 600% return, but it was incredibly volatile, all over the place. Now look at Costco. You know their reputation, right? Famous for putting people first. And their return? A stable, incredible 1,200% return. That is double GE's and double the S&P 500. So, taking care of your people isn't just a nice thing to do, it is great for business. So how do you actually build this circle? It's not magic. It's about intentional actions. It means bringing people together, physically, because you just can't build trust virtually. It means keeping your teams to a human scale. There's this thing called Dunbar's number. It says we can only really maintain about 150 close relationships. It also means connecting your people to the actual human beings their work helps. And most importantly, it requires giving your time and energy, which are finite, and because of that, they're infinitely more valuable than money. And you've got to be patient. Trust, like any really meaningful relationship, takes time. There's no app for it.
Ultimately, the health of any organization just flows from the inside out. When your employees feel safe, when they feel protected and valued, when they actually love where they work, that feeling just naturally extends to your customers. A strong circle of safety for your people creates a strong circle of safety for your business.
So in the end, leadership, it's not a rank you achieve. It's not a position you hold. It's a choice. It's the choice to look out for the person to your left and for the person to your right. Sinek says we become the leaders we wish we had. So the real question is, what choice will you make today?